Stop saying that man planned to get you pregnant because he couldn't have made the plan if you didn't open your legs. Women will always say, well, he planned to get me pregnant. He got me pregnant on purpose. He couldn't have gotten you pregnant if you didn't allow it. You didn't require a condom. You weren't on birth control. He didn't commit to you. There was no requirements for him having your body to make a plan of you bearing his child. And it only takes accountability off of you to put it on him. He didn't force you to open your legs. And I'm not talking to anyone who has been in a situation where they were taken advantage of. We're talking about two consenting adults. So trying to get sympathy or someone to feel bad for you because you decided to not be a responsible adult. If you are grown up to have sex, you should be grown enough to take certain precautions to prevent pregnancy. But every time, a woman is pregnant again for the third time, he tricked you. He planned to get you pregnant. Come on. Let's be mature. Let's be accountable, and let's stop doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Oh, they don't want to hear this. Women love to play the victim, blaming men for planning a pregnancy, when the reality is they consented every step of the way. No condom, no birth control, no rules, yet somehow it's his fault. This is classic entitlement. Dodge accountability and make someone else pay the price. Stop expecting sympathy for choices you freely made. Repeating the same mistakes and crying foul doesn't make you innocent. It makes you predictable and irresponsible. Grow up and own your actions instead of whining.
He was the one that was doing everything wrong. He was the one that hurt you. He was the one that broke you. He was the one that was the abuser. He was the one gaslighting. He was the one manipulating. He was the one with the false allegations. You didn't do anything? Really? You abused him. He's the victim. You treated him like fucking shit. You treated him worse than a dog. You treated him so badly that you have forever changed that man. And you are taking no responsibility. See, you thought that you could keep gaslighting. You thought you could keep manipulating. And then he started realizing what the fuck it was you were doing. You started turning people against him. He started to question himself. He started to think that he was the fucking crazy one. When all along, you were manipulating the motherfucking shit out of him. And all along, you were the narcissistic asshole of an abuser. And you knew what you were doing. And he won't be the last one. And you'll do it again.
This is exactly what happens when entitlement and manipulation go unchecked. She's taking zero accountability while destroying someone who trusted her, flipping the narrative to make him the villain. This is pure toxic behavior, classic narcissistic abuse, and it leaves lasting damage. Men have to wake up. Not every accusation or victim story is true. And women like this will keep repeating the cycle until confronted and held responsible. It's brutal, but it's reality.
If you can't answer to the man who you having a baby for, you can't answer to nobody. 80% of y'all ain't even married to the man you're having a baby with, so you ain't answering to him.
Yeah, but a lot of black men out here broken. They are. And I'm not saying they not.
Stop.
They not, I'm
Stop.
being honest.
Stop.
I love black
Stop.
men.
Stop. That is another of those classical, typical deflections.
No,
What does a
not-
broken black man have to do if you don't let him inside your womb? Thank you. You're making babies with crazy men and broken men. Don't ask for it, and if you do it, you take all the smoke that comes with it. You can't argue that. Do y'all want to sit around and talk about the black man? This is on y'all.
Yeah, but it's different because we actually don't want to give up on black men. We love.
Classic deflection. Women love blaming men for being broken, while ignoring that they chose to have a baby with them in the first place. They refuse accountability, acting like the problem exists outside themselves. If you open your legs and make a choice, you own the consequences. No excuses. Instead, it's always someone else's fault, never theirs. Complaining about men while refusing responsibility is the definition of hypocrisy. Stop pointing fingers and start owning your decisions.
My dad was the piece of shit. My dad was the piece of shit when my mom lied and put him in jail, and then kept him in jail 6 months at a time on 2 separate charges so he couldn't pay child support, and the charges were for not paying child support. My dad was the piece of shit for working 103 hours a week because the state was taking almost 60% of his check when he was out of jail so he could have any living money at all. Yeah, my dad's the piece of shit for my mom being the abuser and for being a manipulative narcissist, making everybody think that he was the bad guy. My dad's the piece of shit for my mom cheating on him, leading to them getting a divorce. And even though she got the house and he paid for almost half the thing, she got it foreclosed on 6 months ago after 25 or 30 years of paying down a mortgage. Getting like 2 or 3 reverse mortgages. Yeah, my dad's a real piece of work. Probably his fault that she spent 90 days in jail for embezzling $50,000 from her job that only got discovered when her boss died in a motorcycle accident. That's probably my dad's fault too. I love blaming men for things. I think it's the best thing that any woman could do is just to blame men. Because if you think about it, a woman being a single mother and being abusive to her kids, there couldn't be any correlation there. We should not actually blame women for that. You look at the stat that single mothers are responsible for over 80% of the abuse that comes from women, and then ask yourself, why are these women single mothers? Could it be that they are abusive? Could it be? No, it couldn't be. There's no correlation there. That a woman is left because maybe a guy had to leave to protect himself, and that woman who's left alone with the child because she lied to the state about how bad he was, even though he had to get away from her being abusive, she then continues to abuse her kids, and no one blames her because she's good at lying. You know, actually, that's where I learned to lie from my mom. I was a compulsive liar most of my life, and I was great at it. And I got into sales, and I made millions of dollars in sales. Now I'm a YouTuber because I was able to turn that fancifulness into creating educational videos on how to do Airbnb. I know how to just have enough flavor and stay educational. Thanks, Mom. Yeah, but let's not give guys credit for transcending their child abuse and doing something good with it. Let's just blame men that the situation was ever created at all.
The children are speaking up. They are not stupid, and they see the patterns clearly. Modern women need to be put on a leash, now, because too often the narrative is flipped. Men are blamed for everything, while women's abusive, manipulative behavior goes unchecked. Single mothers can and do create toxic environments, yet society shields them from accountability. Men leave to protect themselves, and suddenly they're the bad guy, while the woman continues the cycle of abuse. Enough glorifying dysfunction. Stop excusing it and start recognizing who's really responsible. Children see it. Society needs to as well.
He wasn't the one manipulating. He isn't a narcissist. She, for God knows how long, has a track record of saying every single she's been with is manipulating her, gaslighting her, and is a narcissist. So you're telling me that out of all the millions of people in this world, she ends up finding all the men that are narcissists? Are you delusional? He treated her right. He did everything right. He got the car. He got the kids. He gave her everything. He wiped his ass. And when he came home to the most toxic in the world. And now, because she's turning everyone against him, he's the narcissist. Yet another one. A narcissist. Grow up, use your and realize not every single narcissist.
She's been gaslighting every man she's dated, claiming they're all narcissists. Yet here's a guy who literally did everything right, providing, supporting, showing up, and she turns around and labels him the problem. This is exactly why men have to guard themselves. Women like this weaponize the term narcissist to cover their own toxic behavior.
As a man who grew up with a toxic, verbally abusive, broke mother, that will sabotage you in life. Like, you'll go out into the world, you know, and notice that you're a people pleaser. Like, you're like overly polite, overly too nice to people, even people who don't even deserve it. You'll catch yourself, you know, overreacting to certain situations that don't require an overreaction. Basically, reacting to problems like a little bitch. You get into relationships, and when dealing with your significant other, if they come out their mouth and call you something, say a bitch, due to your mother calling you that all throughout your childhood, and you were unable to sock her in her shit, you ready to sock that woman in her shit. Basically, single mothers, you know, cause this trauma upon men. We grow up having to, have to, figure out how to be a man and figure out how to not be a bitch, because you were basically programmed to be a bitch all throughout your adolescence. The majority of incarcerated males were raised by a single mother. Like, surveyed, like they, you feel me, went through the line of these inmates, you feel me, and got the background on them. So I'm just saying, like, they shouldn't be raising no men.
We're witnessing a generation of scarred men, shaped by toxic single-mother households and emotional manipulation. Too many grow up people-pleasing, overly sensitive to criticism, and struggling to assert themselves. They enter adulthood carrying trauma they didn't create, forced to relearn masculinity while society largely ignores their struggles. This cycle leaves them vulnerable, frustrated, and unprepared for healthy relationships. We need to address this head-on and find ways to support and sort these men out.
Women are going to keep themselves bitter, broke, and angry because they are mad at men, and they have this movement called decentering men. I don't think that it's new, but it's definitely a movement that is catching more waves called decentering men, where basically women are saying that they are removing men from the center of their lives and they're not considering them. They don't care about them. They don't want to date them. They don't want to deal with them. They think that they're scary and all of this other dumb shit, because they think that men are a monolith, when in reality it's the culture a lot of times that keep you broke. And it also keeps you dating the same people that you don't want to take accountability for, the person that you opened up your legs to and had a child with, and now you got the results, and certain men don't want to deal with you and you're not getting the results that your mother or your grandmother had, and now you want to blame them and saying that they were under duress. In reality, they were happy and they had strong families, and it translated into a strong economy and a great neighborhood, and we tore it up and we decided that we want to remove the family, and now we want to have children out of wedlock. And then they're using red pill as an excuse for why they want to be angry instead of dealing with their trauma. And for the people in the back, in which I don't consider myself at all, not even remotely, as a red pill content creator. I've been successfully married. I have majority women employees for over 20 years, successfully married for over 20 years. I majority employ women. I have a daughter that's awesome, and my wife is black, for everybody that keeps saying, hey, Anton, do you got a white wife? I don't. Red pill is just removing a veil from men's eyes to the reality of what they got to deal with in society, especially when it comes to relationships. It comes from the movie The Matrix, where the blue pill kept you in La La Land, where essentially you were given a perception of what reality is so that they can harvest you and use you as a battery, when in reality, if you took the red pill, if your mind was ready, it basically shows you that everything ain't all peaches and cream. This is the reality. It doesn't mean hate women. It doesn't mean that anybody is angry. And of course, there are going to be angry people, and I hate angry people on the far left or on the far right, whether it's politics or relationships. Anybody that's extremes in their view and not just talking about the reality and the truth, they're not good for society. But the reason why we're broken is because we don't have strong households. That is the number one way that you bring up community, and that you actually make sure that everybody and a dollar and strong people, and people go to college and they don't have debt and all of this stuff. But instead of us dealing with our trauma and dealing with the truth, we want to blame it on red pill. We want to blame it on a lot of different things. But one day you're going to wake up. One day you're going to wake up and you're going to say, you know what? All of these funky, evil people actually led me down the path of destruction. And instead of me holding myself accountable, instead of me being honest with who I am, I decided that I wanted to blame it on a whole nother group of people, and that don't necessarily translate. At some point, you have to take ownership and responsibility. And I'm not telling you that you got to go back to men, because men don't care. What I am telling you is that you don't want to wake up broke, angry, and hungry because you made the wrong decision of who it is that you wanted to follow.
Women today love to paint men as the enemy, blaming red pill or patriarchy for their own choices, while refusing to face the consequences of their actions. They ditch accountability, have children out of wedlock, and act shocked when men don't stick around. Society didn't break men. Women broke themselves by abandoning family and responsibility. Men see the reality and adapt, while women stew in bitterness and victimhood. Excuses replace growth. Anger replaces reflection, and entitlement replaces humility. One day, reality hits. Nobody owes you, and your choices are yours alone. Thanks for watching Manhood. If you want access to exclusive episodes and want to support the channel, hit that join button and become a member. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if it hit home. Drop your stories and thoughts in the comments. We read everyone. See you tomorrow.